Hello adventurers, my name is Diogo Guerra and this is OFFroad-OFFcourse. Today I have the honor and the pleasure to be test riding and reviewing a motorcycle I've been drooling for since it got updated in 2019, the KTM 690 Enduro R. With these new updates, mainly the ones refining the engine, KTM took another important step in the path of turning the 690 into a nice adventure platform. The question is this finally an adventure platform where we can build upon? One that even after all the extra fuel, all the side panniers, all the crash bars and all the many sets of auxiliary lights is still under 200 kilos? Well, thanks to Carlos, also known as the Tuscan Rider, and his noble steed, we will soon find out. His bike has some mods in case you haven't noticed. It has the navigation tower or the rally kit. It has a 4 cm lowering kit from KTM, which is not great, but considering I'm evaluating this bike as an adventure platform and not as a hard enduro machine, I don't think it will affect my judgment. And it also has these very small crash bars. They look lightweight and efficient enough. What got me really interested in the new KTM 690 in the first place was the promise of a smoother and quieter engine. They tried to achieve this by installing a new resonator chamber on the intake and also a second balancer shaft. But I have to admit, my first impressions were not great. It's more or less the same sound you get when you try to clean your dishes on the laundering machine. I'm being a bit dramatic, but when the bike is idling or in low revs, it's a KTM and it sings the song of its people. However, as soon as you hop on it and start riding and you put some load on the engine, the scary noises go away. In fact, at higher RPMs, this engine becomes so smooth that even a guy like me that hates any hint of mechanical suffering found this bike comfortable at 140-150 km per hour, which is great. It's actually about 20 km an hour faster than my own motorcycle, the XT660R. This one has 6 gears and a lot more ponies, and that of course it helps on the highway. Another update this bike got is the new traction control and also the riding modes. I'm usually against electronic assists because back in my day people used to and so I believe that most of these electronics are just distractions that do more harm than good. This means that I am probably the worst person in the world to explain you how they work, but here we go. The two riding modes are simple to understand. Number one is the street mode, which is supposed to make the engine act a bit more round and forgiving. And number two is the off-road mode, a bit more unrestrained. To be honest, I didn't feel a big difference between the two modes, but I preferred the number two for commuting around town because the bike handles low RPMs a little bit better, and I found out that number one, which is supposed to be the street mode, is actually very pleasant when you ride off-road without, when you're just cruising around. In conclusion, meh. The traction control, however, it's quite noticeable, and for some reason it's hard to turn on or off when the bike is stopped. As much as I would like to hate the traction control, I really can't. It's really good. It lets you skid just enough for most turns. It kinda does a good job when you're trying to go up a slippery hill with loose rocks or something. I don't love it, it's not helping me, but it's not slowing me down either. It's acceptable. It just trims down power a little bit. The bike gains traction in a predictable way, so it doesn't you don't get eye sides or anything like that. There was one situation where it really didn't work for me. I did a jump, and when you are mid-air, if you accelerate, the bike will do this, and if you brake with the rear wheel, it will do this. And you can use this technique to pitch the bike when you are mid-air so that you can land the way you like it. I usually prefer to land with the rear wheel slightly first so that I can accelerate and ease the landing for the front wheel. Well, with the traction control, when you are in the air, if you accelerate, the bike thinks it's skidding, so it will cut off the power. What happened was I landed front first. It was not terrible, it's a small jump, I'm not a motocross rider, but meh. And the traction control, just like the ABS, will reset itself every time you turn off the bike, which is a pain in the ass, because every time you turn on the bike, you have to spend 3 seconds pressing the ABS button to turn it off, then you have to ride around, drop the accelerator, go with one hand to the traction control button, hold it for 5 seconds and then it's off, and then you can ride. 5,000 satanic rituals just so that we can ride in peace. It bothers me. Speaking of ABS, the new KTM also got the corner ABS, meaning that the bike is measuring your tilt angle, so it determines if the ABS response should be stronger or weaker. On the road, legend says this is a lifesaver. Off-road, as usual, turn it off.
The ABS! The ABS! Jesus! Yeah. Why? Why we have such rules? Oh, the humanity.
Not only because the ABS will not stop your bike off-road, but because when you hit the brakes, this thing really stops. It anchors down to the ground. It's amazing. I'm used to older and heavier motorcycles, so that explains my amazement, but it is what it is. This thing can brake, and it will brake in a straight line without any unpredictability. It just anchors down to the ground and stops. Very impressed. There were some other smaller but important updates, like the slightly bigger fuel tank, a better designed fuel thingy, so now the dirt doesn't go directly into the fuel tank, it kinda stays here around this new rim. And despite producing more horsepower than the previous version, it actually uses less fuel. Throughout these tests I got an average fuel consumption of somewhere along here, which means the range of the bike will be... As for basic maintenance, KTM claims you need to change the oil on this thing every 10,000 kilometers, which is quite good. With these new updates, the 690 also got the new WP Explore suspensions, both front and rear, and a lot of people have been finding the factory settings a bit too soft. Gladly, WP made them really easy to adjust. You can do it as you ride without any tools. The shock is also very impressive, with a slow and fast compression adjustment here, preload here and the rebound down there. Even with the lowering kit, the bike seems to have a very decent ground clearance and the suspension behaves really well when dealing with the normal stuff at normal speeds. The 690 never feels as comfortable and cushy as an heavier bike like the Tenere 700 for instance, but it feels solid and stable, even through sections where a bigger bike would have to slow down. The dashboard display, I think it's quite underwhelming. I mean, I'm all for saving weight and simplicity and all that, but the previous models had some, they had the RPM thingy and they looked nice, they were orange. I don't know, this just feels like meh. With only around 160 kilos ready to roll, the 690 is it feels really lightweight, nimble and energetic. And when you trample over obstacles, it's quite easy to get a little air time here and there. Quite fun. The engine has a tendency to get hot quite fast, so the fan will start working as soon as you ride slowly. I didn't feel a lot of heat around my legs, that was okay, but guys, this thing came straight out of hell. This thing gets hot beyond any possible comprehension. If this was my bike, careless as I am, I would destroy my whole riding equipment within a week. The steering angle is actually quite acceptable. I was expecting a more KTM-ish feel. The Magura hydraulic clutch, it works like a charm. The riding position is quite nice. I was afraid the bike would feel too endurish, but no, this feels like a sort of a mix between an adventure bike and an old dual sport. When I stand up, it feels quite comfortable. I'm here in between like a very relaxed adventure position and a soft attack position. This works really well. The rider in its normal position sits right in the middle of the seat, so the space that is left for the pillion is just too small and narrow, and here in between the top case support. The 690 is legally allowed to transport 2 passengers and you have the foot pegs for that. However, I don't think it's really designed to do it properly. The stock seat is slim, it's straight, it's narrow, it's hard, and it feels exactly how it looks. You can remove the seat by pulling this string here. It's a practical system, but for adventure purposes I think they should have wasted 100 grams and use a key-operated mechanism instead. The new iteration of the 690 is still missing a few details that are valuable for the common adventurer, but nevertheless it's a very exciting and performant and amazing bike. It's very lightweight, it has a tremendous amount of horsepower and the ability to use them at any speed. And despite its enduro looks and the narrow and slim seat, the bike is actually fairly comfortable out of the box. Nevertheless, from an adventurer's perspective, the 690 looks indeed like an awesome platform, but at the same time it looks like an unfinished product. Despite its great potential, it still requires a truckload of modifications for you to be able to call it an adventure bike. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I certainly enjoyed making it. So, as usual, please like it, subscribe, hit the thingy and share. Share it in a Facebook page, share it in a WhatsApp group or on a subreddit, in any place where you find people that would enjoy this type of content. See you next week and happy rides!